It's that time again, baby! Eurovision 2018, where countries in and around, and also nowhere near Europe, call upon the very best of their musical elite to prepare their finest compositions before gathering in sunny Lisbon to compete for the highest prize in all musicdom, that thing. And this time around, because this is a music analysis channel, we're going to be assessing this year's event in a slightly different way, by asking the question, how does one write a Eurovision song in 2018? And to answer, we're going to look at this year's field to pick out common tendencies before putting it all together to produce an entry of our own. So yes, there's a song at the end of all of this. But first, a bit of housekeeping. When I covered the Eurovision last year, I received not a small amount of criticism on a couple of points. One was how I pronounced the name of this country. I sort of said it like Portugal. This is valid feedback, and I promise I'll pronounce it the proper way from here on out. Portugal! Another comment I received was that my remarks sometimes veered slightly in the direction of sarcasm and dismissiveness. This is also valid feedback, so to bring this video more in line with the Eurovision's tacked-on spirit of positivity, I'm going to be making a few modifications to my language. Where in the past I may have used the description oblivious, plagiarising morons, I'll now be using the term contestants. And instead of descriptions like laughable, unoriginal, talentless, god-awful, pathetic, clueless or horrendous, I'll be using the phrase creatively challenged. So let's get into it. To begin, I want to spend a few seconds defining the type of Eurovision song we're going to be making. Take a look at this graph, representing the 3 tiers of quality. Most songs fall solidly into this bottom category. Let's call it the nadir. The best way to describe these songs are generic, or maybe we'll just use the term minus good. And there's the middle category, let's call it purgatory, where these are what you call not particularly ridiculous okay songs. 2017 had 2 of those, one from Belgium and the other one from Portugal. In 2018, I think I'd only put Austria here, but that's not too important right now. So what's really important is this tier, reserved for only the very special and unique acts, Eurovision Valhalla. A song that makes it to Valhalla will originally be placed here, but due to a certain unique type of ridiculousness, it falls out, and, like Pac-Man, transcends badness, converting into something special. It becomes something more than a song. It becomes a legend.
Don't be proud, mate, please don't bother. Go, come on, and ask your mother how to bake that cake. A piece of cake.
So were there any Valhalla candidates this year? They certainly looked the part, but the song sounded a bit like a Westlife ballad. And what about Israel, the eventual winner? Okay, so this may sound like a stretch, but have you ever heard the composer Luciano Berio's sequenza for voice? I kind of felt like that's where this was going until we got to the uninspired, dull as dishwater chorus. But to give this song some credit, it's at least about something. A lot of Eurovision acts ape the language of social activism without actually specifying a particular cause. A slightly, minus brave move in my opinion. This song is pretty unambiguously about the Me Too movement, which sort of makes me want to put it here, in the normal category. Yeah, so the chicken thing does complicate matters slightly. I think I'm gonna have to move it back out of there. Pikachu? Does anyone have any idea what that could mean?
In a broader sense, Pikachu is a perfect mascot for the empowered woman that Netta is representing. Pikachu is cute, generally friendly, but capable of taking out a much larger opponent when threatened. No matter how much you want to snuggle up with Pikachu, make sure to get affirmative consent first.
Jesus, did Netta just unmask Ash Ketchum as a Pokemon pervert? Maybe this is what the intro was hinting at.
Ouch.
Okay, I'm a little confused. I'm putting the sexy Pokemon song over here. So all that aside, let's get back to our song. Because we want to represent the general Eurovision standard, we're going to be taking our inspiration from this category, the 90%, leaving the likes of Hungary out of it. So how do we do this? Well, helpfully, Norway's entry, titled That's How You Write a Song by the former Eurovision winner Alexander Rybak, has some advice for us.
Step one, believe in it and sing it all day long.
So, step one is to believe in it and then sing it. So, okay, what's step two?
Step two, just roll with it.
Okay, and what's step three?
That's how you write a song. Come on.
Oh, right, what is it with Eurovision songs and incomplete instructions?
Come on, make some dough, add some love, let it bake, have some cake, a piece of cake. Come on!
Incidentally, does anyone know what happened to that piece of cake guy? Is he still making music? I really think he's got a future career in punctuating other people's idiotic statements.
I like turtles.
A piece of cake,
They're rapists.
a piece of cake,
George Bush doesn't care about black people.
piece of cake.
Okay, I'm getting off track here. Anyway, thanks for the advice, Alexander. That was really good. Okay, so I'm going to modify those steps slightly. But before I do, we need a guiding principle to help us write our song. And the principle used in the creation of most Eurovision songs is plagiarism. And to clarify, I'm not talking about the sort of plagiarism that regularly makes the news, where one artist is taken to court for ripping off another. I'm talking about the process of constructing your music from a range of off-the-shelf cliches that you hear all the time. And I'm going to show you now how this can be done systematically without expending any creative effort at all. It's absolutely child's play to write this kind of stuff. So let's start where I think most composers do, by coming up with a chorus. Just play a couple of standard chord progressions on piano, guitar, or music software until you have a basic chord sequence. So let's now add a sketch of how the vocal melody is going to work on top of that. Now, I could spend some time explaining the harmonic constraints that led to this phrase, but I don't think I need to. I'm confident you can all intuitively recognise it's been done to death, right? But don't worry, the stuff we throw on top later will give it the illusion of flair and individuality. So this is the only actually creative part of the process out of the way. Our song is basically done at this point, and the rest is just cliché gathering. You ready? Okay, so cliché number one is something called the 4/3 suspension, probably the most commonly used harmonic decoration in all Western harmony. We're going to have to shoehorn one of those into our song somewhere. They come in two varieties, the forgivable and the unforgivable. Iceland produced a particularly unforgivable one this year.
To help and to heal in different ways. Too many
4/3 suspensions sound particularly lame when you use them to punctuate the end of a musical sentence like this. Forgivable ones often happen in the vocal line, preferably quickly.
These are the reasons I can't let you go. Oh, let's sing the song of
Man, Lithuania really turned it on this year, didn't they? Oh, old people die. Oh, she's thinking about being old and it's making her sad. How beautiful. I'm voting for this. So the next thing we need is a rhythmic vocal tick, an oh, or a yada yada yada.
Shoo-ba-doo-dap-dap, shoo-ba-doo-dap-dap, shop-dap, hey.
Can I say, you have like a vampire feel to it.
Можна сказати, що в тебе відчуття вампіра?
Мені здається так.
Jesus. Anyway, even though some songs base their entire hook on a vocal tick, we're going to use a relatively mild one that sounds like this. Next, we'll be needing a cliched catchphrase, something you hear in pop music all the time that doesn't really have any meaning.
Cause you let me walk this road alone.
For our catchphrase, since no one's used it this year, I'm going to go for that tried and tested classic, "Can you feel it?" So, with these decorations decided upon, we need to now figure out our verse. A lot of people write this way, chorus first, verse second, because it seems like a natural thing to do. However, it can cause big problems. Writing backwards is tricky. You have to retrofit a build-up that seems to naturally lead to the music you've already written. Check out my 2 videos on musical transitions to see what I'm talking about. For the creatively challenged, this is too technical a hurdle to overcome, so they end up writing something else. A nothing verse. A nothing verse is where no real development occurs, usually just a single chord or a single note being held throughout, with some generic vocal warbling over the top until it's time for the good part.
Ain't it funny, ain't it funny? Oh, it all started as a joke, but now I'm falling, now I'm falling.
For the listener, this is like being held in a musical holding pattern, a 30-second formality. The best example of this in the finals was the song "Lie to Me," the abysmal entry from the Czech Republic.
Got him dripping on word, I know it hurts so bad, but it feels so good. Sweet talking me now, baby, I don't give a damn. You should have thought about me back when I was your man.
This song is one of my picks for the worst of show. Not only does it have a nothing verse, its chorusy hook bit is completely plagiarized. A blatant attempt to recreate the success of Moldova last year.
Come on! All right!
Oh, Moldova. You can always be counted upon to provide us with quality nonsense. So next up, and this is really a hallmark of a typical Eurovision song in 2018, a quiet part with monorhythm piano chords.
We've come a long way since then, and now we're to it all again.
Let you go running away. Ain't nobody but you.
Portugal. The same mistakes in believing that it won't make it deep. Woman, don't you ever forget you're divine and he's a...
This is just a quiet, loud trick. If you want your chorus to sound punchy, just place these piano chords before it. In this year's contest, it would be faster to count the number of acts that didn't do this. Another staple is the whooshing noise, an effect that works well with the nothing verse because it gives the illusion of musical progression. To finish things off, we'll need a standard Europop beat. I think we can also add a bit of unnecessary auto-tuning as well. Didn't happen this year as much as previous years, I think it's going out of fashion, but let's just keep it in to be safe. Now, with all that done, we need a theme. As I mentioned earlier, there are some contestants who at least have the courage to make it clear what their song is actually about. But a lot of songs dodge specific content and instead use vague platitudes in the hope of appearing to be on the side of a social cause. It's as if they're worried that, by being specific, they'll alienate the more intolerant among us. I mean, let's face it, I can't see the Viktor Orban or Vladimir Putin voters of this world getting too enthusiastic about Ireland's entry this year. Anyway, back to our theme. So, because there are a few minor chords in our song, let's pretend we're standing for something serious by mimicking the language of courageous social activism. How about, "We'll always stand for a friend"? Who's going to argue with that? That could mean anything to anyone, and it's the last piece of the puzzle. Our song is legally 100% original, while in actuality being completely plagiarized. Now, performance poses a bit of a problem. Since I don't have any dressed up dancers, professional vocalists, or special effects, I'm going to have to present this as a music video. And for visuals that give the music a sense of depth, I'm going to use a mixture of saccharine political campaign adverts, "Take a Bow, Bernie Sanders," along with provocative imagery of war and people looking sad. And please stick around to the very end, because I've just got a small question to ask all of you. Enjoy!